Hey everybody, it's me, Lerato Marie, and welcome to my channel. If you guys know me from my other channel, which is all about travel, Daughters to Rome, thank you for stopping by. Make sure you hit the subscribe because we've got different topics we're talking about over here. And if it is your first time checking me out, welcome. So nice to meet you. So today I want to talk about have a real conversation with y'all about the 5 things that have really helped me in the past 4 years on my healing journey. And so I just want to dive into it. First of all, many of us, we begin these healing paths in our lives when things stop working. And that can be a myriad of things. It could be a breakup, depression, a loss of identity. It could be a loss of a job. So many things that kind of sends us into the spiral where we one day wake up or one night realize life as I know it is no longer working. And I can't focus on anyone else but myself. I personally think that's such a beautiful place to be in, although, we call it in spiritual communities the dark night of the soul, because that's when we see the weight. And that's when we also understand the weight of being the person that can actually make the change in our lives. So yeah, I've had many of those. And in this video, I want to talk about just like over the course of 4 years, how healing has worked for me. And I think many of you can agree that it is not a linear path the way that we've been taught to believe. Healing is more so like this beautiful spiral that goes and goes. And it may seem like you're repeating the same problem, and it may feel like you're not really growing. But if you space out a bit, you'll see that you're looking at these similar problems from a widened perspective. And that is, to me, what the healing continuum is allowing us to learn, grow, and approach life from a more evolved perspective so that we can get a different result. And 5 years ago, my gosh, well, 4 years ago, let's see, 2022, I opened it up, just, having a great time. Just turned 40, went to Costa Rica with a couple of my girlfriends, and literally fell out with one of my friends on the trip, someone that I thought was really close to me. But sometimes it's these girls' trips, right? Sometimes when you remove the ambiguity of just doing the day-to-day, this is my routine with my friend, this is kind of what we do, and you really get to focus in on the character of the person, things come to light. Hashtag girls trips. So 2022 was a big year for me. I made lots of changes, and what those changes did over time was change my life completely. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I was just out of a 4-year relationship. With the way that we approached life together in this partnership, we were basically married, okay? We had the house, we had the cars, we had the stability, we had a beautiful dog named Harley, and we took at least 4 trips every year. We just had a beautiful life together. But deep inside, that life was becoming more and more unfulfilling. And we went to counseling. We did all of the things that we could do to make it work. And it just wasn't doing it. So leaving that relationship, the hills of 2021, and now being in the space where I'm on my own in 2022 was a completely different thing, because I was thinking, oh, I'm about to go into my 40s, fly, fabulous, without a care in the world, honey. I'm unbothered. And while a part of that was true, there was a whole nother syllabus that life lined up for me as it pertained to my self-concept and how I was going to approach life, friendships, the relationships with my friends, my partners, and myself and my God from that standpoint. So Leaving the relationship was the first big thing for me. I would say it was like a precursor to the healing because it made me stop relying on the security of having a dual income household, a partner who would be at home with me at night when I was doubting myself and having these moments. I could have someone to buffer the dis-ease that was going on within me and be more of a balm, right? And again, I was, like living my life, and we had all of these great things that could also be great distractions if you know you're not happy within. So, boom, 2022, I go into it, 40th birthday, having a great time. And guess what? I hit rock bottom really quick, unexpectedly, because I had it wasn't a nervous breakdown, but I'm going to say it was a panic attack one night after hanging out with my girlfriends. And on February the 20th, 2022, I decided to go sober. So I stopped drinking alcohol, cold turkey, one day. And while my path may look different than others, I'll just share with you that that was the number one first thing that really just kicked off everything. Not drinking made me into I heard someone say it earlier today, it turned me into a raw wound. I was so sensitive because I wasn't numbing. So everything that I saw it with clear eyes. And I didn't have the comfort of a glass of wine or, Tito's and tonic. Like I didn't have those things to buffer my emotions. I just felt them. And it felt raw and it was ugly and I hated it. But I knew that it was so good for me. And I was so hell-bent on keeping up this lifestyle that I literally told all of my friends, I'm not drinking. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. The way that you can support me, if you want to support me, is just, check in with me. I'm not asking you not to drink, but there may be moments that I'll need to step away and I can't hang out as much because I feel triggered. I told my family members that are close to me. And I even went to an AA class online where I learned something that's very interesting about alcoholism that took so much shame away from me. I honestly think that it was necessary for me to get that piece, because if not, I would have carried the shame and I probably would have regressed. This February, I just celebrated 4 years, so I'm so proud of that. But yeah, that was like the biggest thing, right? Abstaining from alcohol. It made me face myself. It made me stop numbing. It made me look at Lerato, and say, okay, these are the things that I need to change. And this is how we're going to do it, brick by brick. I don't like some of this stuff. Some of this stuff I love, some of it I don't like. And oh my God, I'll tell you to this day, I don't miss it. And it was the best decision that I have made in many years of my life. Okay. All right. Going on to number two. Number two is I started dream journaling. Now you may be thinking, what in the world does dream journaling have to do with healing? Well, for me, it had to do a lot because first of all, on the subconscious level, there are a lot of things that we're not really able to see, that we can't really access because there's so many distractions happening within the day. We're also numbing from some of the things that we don't want to face. And so there's just no room. There's no room for truth. There's no room for even sometimes prophecy to bubble up in us. And if you're a woman watching this, I need you to know that your anatomy makes you a natural receptacle for divine downloads, to hear from God, to hear from source, to receive messages and to interpret them. When you look at the vagina, right, we receive. Okay, so we're natural sponges. We're very much operating in that way. And I think that everybody can really learn from their dreams and tie into them. I'm not saying it wasn't a gift for me, but I'm pretty sure even if you don't dream all the time, when you do dream and they're vivid, you wake up and you miss them. And the reason why you miss them is because you don't train your brain to go back and grab them. I've been training my brain for many years to go back and grab my dreams because I have the gift of clairvoyance, and I do see things sometimes before they happen. And what happened when I stopped drinking is that the dreams got more vivid. They became more vivid, and they also started speaking a certain language to me. It was almost as if I realized that my subconscious was having a conversation with my conscious mind. And I would also find that sometimes in my dream space, my subconscious was still chewing on and digesting what it is that I was dealing with in everyday life. For instance, I was at this job and I was really, really excited about, going to Portugal. This is in 2023. I was really excited about going to Portugal, going for the summer, spending a summer there, and what this was going to do for me and all of these cool things. And I'll never forget having this dream of my grandparents coming to me with these silver mantles, and we were in a pool. It was water. Pool means the subconscious. Pool means emotions. The water could also mean like the feminine expression because it's very watery. And so we're in this consciousness, right? And they're coming to me so happy, and they're bestowing something on me, like, you're making us so proud. And I remember that dream from years ago, right? But in that dream, there was still a fear. And so basically it was telling me, you're about to do all of these things and we're so proud of you, but there's still another fear that you're going to have to overcome. And that is so true. To this day, I'm literally overcoming that fear now, which is being seen, putting myself out on YouTube and social media, so on and so forth. But when I tell you that these dreams are real, they're real. You can literally, if you study people like Neville Goddard and people who are really into imagination and manifestation, they will tell you that you can, just before you go to bed, because your brain is in this, I believe it's the theta wavelength, where it's very receptive to suggestion. And so you can ask yourself any question that you have. Maybe there's a problem that you're trying to solve or a decision that you want to make. You ask yourself that question before you go to bed, and you could either wake up in the middle of the night or the next morning with the answer. There's so much that takes place in the dream space, and there's so much that takes place in our world when we allow ourselves to rest. So for me, dreaming, it really just connected things that were going on within my subconscious. Before I took that trip with the two girls, I literally had a dream of two snakes. They were like twins, and one was antagonizing me. They were both in yin yang. I'll never forget it. It was right before we went on a trip, and I felt a dis-ease, an unease around that situation. So dreams can really foretell some of the things that are going on. And even if you don't understand it on a conscious level, you can definitely, or I would say, I think that it has at least prepared my spirit for some of the things that I would face in the future. Okay. So that's number 2, dreams. Number 3, this is a big one. And this is one that I just came across last year, EFT tapping. EFT tapping is an acronym for emotional freedom tapping. This is a form of, I would say, psychosomatic work, healing work that involves hitting the acupuncture points on your body, the acupuncture points, which are like 8 points that you're hitting. But instead of you just doing like, I'm the greatest in the world, I'm a millionaire, I got a guy that's fine as hell, like all of these things, you are literally tapping into your body, the truth, your true feelings. So have you ever been in a conversation with someone and you're trying to tell them your point of view so that the two of you can come to a place of resonance, right? Or to a place of mutual agreement. And once you're finished with what you're saying, they start telling you their piece. There's no acknowledgement. There's no, I see what you're saying. Okay, I get where you're coming from. Here's where I was coming from. This was my point. that is such an easier conversation to have when you have a person that's willing to meet you where you are, right? Versus someone that's saying, because XYZ, then it becomes confrontational. Well, this is what happens when we have a conversation with our body, with our psyche, and with our subconscious. If you are constantly beating yourself with affirmations over the head, but your body does not feel that those things are true, in fact, your body doesn't feel safe receiving what it is that you're talking about, then you're in conflict with another form of intelligence within your body. And what we want to bring is harmony. So the EFT, it increases the conversational output because it acknowledges where you might be on a subatomic level, like in the body. You know what I mean? It says, I feel like crap today because XYZ happened. And you continue to tap on your body so that you can release the things that feel true, so that you can allow yourself to receive the things that you want and really open yourself up. But you can't open until you acknowledge. So it was just a beautiful practice for me, y'all. And I started doing this last year because I had a lot of death. A lot of people who were really close to me passed away, and we were all within the same age range. I'm 43, I'll be 44 this year. I still feel young, I still am young. And so having so many of my peers pass and transition to, the other side, become ancestors, having lost my job at the beginning of last year, and just so many things that I had identified myself as melt away, made me feel incredibly vulnerable and naked and scared. And what the EFT tapping did for me was it allowed me to process my grief, to sit with my fear, and it also allowed me to overcome those things while acknowledging that they were there. You know what I mean? And to overcome them, y'all, in a way, for instance, there are times that I would get nervous about promoting myself. This is on aside from the parts with the family, right? And the friends who are passing away. But this is just me putting out an event. Sometimes I get nervous and really shy about putting myself out there and promoting something. There have been times when I've done EFT tapping in the morning, and right after I just start sending invites. And when I tell you, I felt nothing in my body. I didn't feel anxious. I didn't feel scared or afraid of rejection. I was just like, holy shit, I can't believe I just did this. You know what I mean? And it did nothing. So a lot of times fear isn't necessarily living in our heads. It's living in our bodies. And what EFT tapping does for me, and what it does for a lot of people, is it wakens up the vagus nerve and it tells your body that you're safe. That the old story that programmed you to think that you have to go in fight or flight mode or get scared or that you might be rejected or something like that, it calms the body enough so that you can open yourself up to a different outcome. So I'll be sharing more about that on this channel. I'll be sharing more about all of these things on this channel. But yeah, I'm really passionate about this one. And I hope that more people begin to do it and include it in their arsenal. Number 4. So number 4, this one is, it's going to land how it lands, honey, but it's me. Number 4 is ancestral veneration. Now, I am not speaking of ancestral veneration in a sense that everyone speaks of it in. I know that there's some people who have practices that are very rigid or very structured. My practice has been very intuitive. In fact, I don't even call it a practice. It's just what I do. You know what I mean? I've always had ever since I was a kid, right? 3rd grade, when I found out that we were the descendants of slaves and these were our ancestors and this is what they went through, I deeply wanted to hear from them. I'll never forget sitting in that class and just having this strong desire to be able to hear from one of them and learn from them and pick up the phone and what would they tell us to do now so that we never have to go through this again. And that was when I was in the 3rd grade. But over the years, I would be a person who would dream and have transitioned loved ones come to me in a dream with a message, or I would see things. So it was kind of natural for me to have that. I come from a family who's like, ooh, I smell something. That must be mama. I hear something in the hallway. So we're all spiritual in that sense, where we know that we don't walk alone. But my ancestral veneration really began to kick off a couple years before 2020. I would set up like little parts in my house, like, oh, this is my dad's table. I've got my dad's hat. I got his picture. I'm gonna just put a little cigar right there. That's dad's station, you know? And then I would do another station for grandma and some stuff like that. And then I ended up just having this cool little space with my loved ones and all of their things. And in 2020, when all of the crap was happening and George Floyd, and oh my gosh, it was just such a heaviness over me and over the collective, and particularly the Black collective. I remember not even being able to get out of the bed without calling on my grandmother, saying, Grandma, if Grandma did this, I could do this. If she walked during the time that she walked through, I can walk through this time. If Dr. Maya Angelou, if Rosa Parks, if all of these women, I am pulling on their strength. So I see ancestral reverence as a form of remembrance and a form of communication, still recognizing that that DNA courses through my veins, that intelligence, resilience, and fight. And all I have to do is slow myself down enough to, not pour out a little liquor, if you will, because we're alcohol free, but give space for their wisdom to bubble up in me. Give space for the celebration of who they were, of that beautiful energy that they created in this world, and I got to share with them, and to quiet myself enough to hear from them. And so that's become a regular practice in my life, where I spend time with my ancestors, same way I spend time with God, same way, I sit or I might make food and put on some music and put a little candle next to their pictures. But it has been such a beautiful, beautiful reclamation of the worth, of the strength. And there's so many words that I can use to describe the brilliance in my bloodline. And it blesses me tremendously, because I know that I am not only here to live my life, but I'm also expressing life through this lineage that is very necessary. And sometimes life has made me want to give up and let it go. And they have kept me. They have kept me, and they have bolstered me and protected me. And it's just been this beautiful relationship. So that's something that I do, I revere, I love it, and it's really blessed me. And then number five is learning and practicing divine feminine principles. And every Black woman should learn and sit with divine feminine principles, because we have been knocked so far out of our feminine that it is just crazy, the havoc that it's wreaked on our bodies, on our lifespans, and on the quality of the life that we live. So for me, what that looked like was allowing myself to rest without having guilt. I took a career break for the past year. Rest without feeling guilt. Why? Because I knew that I was going to reorient my life, and I knew that I deserved that rest. And I knew that when I rested for my mother, who's just finally starting to rest in her 70s. I rest for her now because she couldn't. So, the receptiveness of it, of the divine feminine principle, allowing people to do, allowing myself to be soft, allowing myself to be vulnerable. Ugh. Sometimes it sucks. I'm not even going to lie, because it feels so foreign. And because independence has been so championed in my life, in my lineage, in this world. And I think that it's been a great disconnector. And so when I started doing that, started getting out in nature, started, just softening and allowing myself to vibe and receive in different ways. Not even approaching meditation the same, like I've got to meditate for 30 minutes. I meditate for as long as my intuition allows me to, as long as my body allows me to. and doing the divine feminine, you learn to tap more into the body's intelligence and the intuition. So these things, y'all, have really blessed my life in such a way that, hey, this girl went from living in a life where I felt like I was trapped to living a life where I feel so free. I feel so full, so fulfilled, right? I've traveled the world and had beautiful romances from here to Paris to freaking Thailand to the islands to all of these wonderful places. I've lived in, Colombia for 6 months. I just came back from Brazil. I've done all of this beautiful healing work and created so much beautiful community overseas. In my opinion, have become a citizen of the world. I have a residency in Mexico. I have such a more rich connection with my family and more true representation of who I am in my friendships, whereas I'm not the person that's shouldering everything all the time. I can't tell you how free this feels, how beautiful this feels, and how I still understand and am living in the healing continuum, right? But with all that said, these are the 5 things that have worked for me. I'm really curious to know what have worked for y'all. I'll be talking more about this, in the future days and so on and so forth. But it's just been a blessing to share this finally with someone, the things I've been doing in my lab, so to speak, in my healing lab. And I'm really interested to know if any of these modalities that I've spoken of have worked for you, if you've considered them, and what other content you'd like to hear from the channel. Again, if you like travel content, check me out on Daughters Who Roam. That's my other channel over there. And but this is where I'm just me, and I just want to share with you and build a beautiful community and conversation around things that are true. So until next time, be well, believe in yourself, behold how amazing you can be, and give yourself permission to become it, baby, because life is short and you deserve to live it. Talk to you next time. Ciao.